Well, Paul, one of the concepts that you introduced to me, and this I think is inspired by Jack Donovan, is
Mhm.
this concept of solar, of
Yeah.
being a light in the world or your environment for yourself or for your people.
Mhm.
And I like one of the things, I don't know, just from my perspective, one of the things that I get from the concept of solar and being solar
Mhm.
is balancing feminine and masculine
Mhm.
energies and sort of how you have really balance me out and become a light in my world. So, can you talk a little bit more about just the concept of solar and what that has meant for you, how that's changed you or affected you?
Yeah. Um, Jack Donovan, it's in the book Fire in the Dark. So you guys want to check that out. It's Jack Donovan, Fire in the Dark, Men and Gods. It's a really good book. The first book I read by him was The Way of Men, and I actually read it on a flight, and it rocked, changed my view about so many things. When I got off the flight, I read it during the flight. It's a good book. But I just consumed it. I just read it really fast, and then I've read it multiple times since then. You know, but Stay Solar was an essay that he published online, and I can't remember when. This book was published in 2020, but I know the essay was around before then, but I'm not sure timeline wise. But when I read Stay Solar, that further reinforced to me some things that I had been reading and studying for a long time, kind of like the Joseph Campbell stuff, sources you wouldn't associate with each other. Maybe in some way you would, but like Kim Wilber, the Integral Institute, just that kind of thing of like being being like Nietzsche's concept, the Ubermensch, the ultimate man, the ultra man, and what does that look like? What does that mean? And it doesn't mean, to me, it doesn't mean you are this negative stereotype of what masculinity looks like, but that you strive for the ideal that's always been there, that it was perverted and twisted by others. And when you look at like, look, we've talked in other episodes, you look at men like Shackleton or Webb or Points de Leon, or there's a conquistador who I can't remember his name at the moment, who was basically a giant and traveled all over the world collecting artifacts and art and all these different things, and some for personal gain, but also for to share. Like, look what's out here. Look what these other places hold. When you look at that masculinity, that model of masculinity, and protector, provider, it's a different thing than what a lot of people are growing up around.
I have a question about that. And this is when you look at masculinity, femininity,
Mhm.
men and women, who gets to tell women how to be women?
I I would say women get to tell women, but there has to be a certain give and take. There
Mhm.
has to be a certain expectation, and in much the same way that women should be able to have an expectation from men of what a man should look like. But what's happened is it's been twisted. It's
Right.
been changed. And speaking of Jack Donovan, he wrote about that quite a bit, where he wrote about sex pollution, and he's also written about how the arts changed. If
Yeah.
you if you look at how the arts changed over time, Why did they change?
Was that in the Stay Solar essay, or was that in a different essay of his?
It's in a different essay. So he wrote about the the pushing of the masculine male out of the arts. So we went from these arts that these depictions of epic adventures and striving for this higher level, higher calling, and to something soft and much more feminine and not at all. Like you don't see, like in order for the ancient sculptors to have sculpted, which is an amazing feat, right? Think about what it would take to sculpt out of marble the things that we've seen. Is it David with the lion? That's an amazing piece of art, and it's sculpted from marble. If you touch it, if you roll it, want to take a chance on getting beat up by museum security, but if you touch it, you can feel the marble. You can feel, it's incredible. But that David in that depiction is no soft, weak man. He's a savage and he's fighting a lion, you know? And we go from art that depicts epic adventures, incredible, unimaginable engagements between man and nature, man and animal, man and man, to whatever it is now.
Yeah.
What changed?
What changed? And I feel we were talking about this recently, and one of the things that I've come to understand is that women are asking men to change how they are in order to make women more comfortable.
Right.
When I don't think that balances out energetically, because I don't need men to be more feminine.
Well, it's also interesting in that I can't tell a woman what she should be, but you can give me a list of things I should be to be a man.
Yeah. But then
How does that work?
Then there's a conflict there too, where, where I'm telling boys and men, well, you need to talk about your feelings and you need to be able to cry in front of me or with me.
Right.
And you need to be able to read my mind when when I'm not using my words.
Right.
And all of these other things, except that when I need a provider and protector, I expect you to show up in that way too.
Right.
And then I think it doesn't work right. And I think Stay Solar, the concept of solar and masculine energy, the way that Jack Donovan writes about it and why you were drawn to it, is really trying to bring that message forward.
Yeah. Well, also, back to, who can tell a woman how to be a woman? We also have, like, I can't tell a woman how to be a woman because that's taboo. I can't tell a woman what I expect from a woman. That's also taboo. But you, a woman, can tell me what a man is and what a real man is and what real masculinity is and what toxic masculinity is and all these things. But then also at the same time complain because you can't find a man. Well, you've created this mess where I remember, this is going way back. I remember this discussion on the Phil Donahue show where they were trying to figure out, like, so you want a man that can cry, but you also want a man that's jacked and buff and can fight if he had to protect you. Can also help you, provide for you and your children, but can also get out of the way and let you be you. And all these things. And you can tell him all these things, but he can't say anything back. And I remember watching this on Donahue as a child. That's how long this has been going on, how long this attack on masculinity, true masculinity, has been going on. And now we're at a place now where it's crisis, right? Like, how many of your friends that are younger, people that you work with, I remember you telling me years ago that nurses in their late 20s and 30s were frustrated because there's no good guys. And I constantly see posts on social media and other places where there's just no good men. And we have friends who constantly share with us like their dating app treasures that they find where these guys are just not very masculine, not very manly. And they're like, and they'll say, right, like when they send these texts with these screenshots, they're like, where are the men? Like, I don't know. Where did you drive them off to? Where did you guys drive them off to? And also, but also, why did men let themselves be driven off? Like, I get it. Men were pushed out of the arts, men were pushed out of all kinds of things. Why did you allow yourself to get pushed away? Why didn't you take your space? Why didn't you say, no, I'm staying and I'm going to keep making epic freaking art, right? Like I'm going to keep making vases and pottery that depict us wrestling, us chasing down a bull and providing food for our village. I'm going to keep depicting these things. I'm going to keep depicting young braves. There's a story, Art Vanderlei told a story of 4 young braves. I don't remember what tribe they're from, but they chased these buffalo over a cliff. So they chased 4 or 5 buffalo over a cliff. So buffalo weighs what, like 2, 3, close to a ton. They're big, they're beasts, and they're no joke. They will kill you. Right? How many times do we see Yellowstone tourists getting tossed around because they get close to one and try to do a selfie? And I'm like, that's a wild animal, bro. And they find out, right? FAFO. But the Art Devaney told this story of, and it's depicted in wall art, right? Of these young braves chasing these buffalo. They go over this cliff, they die, they go down there and drag them back up and drag them to their village to feed their village. That's a savage. That's a freaking beast, right? Where'd those guys go? Mm-hmm. You know, and so when you look at that, you know, like that's our DNA. That's what we're made of. And it's okay to accept our differences.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to be feminine energy for you.
No.
You have female friends for that.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not my role. My role is to be masculine and to fill my role as a man. And the second that we start allowing society or whomever to start saying, this is what you should be, when it goes against my grain and it doesn't feel right, but I try to do it to make you happy, then there's frustration. I'm pushing down who I truly am, who I really am. It's a bad path to go down and it leads to destruction. And I'm not talking like biblical destruction. I'm talking about destruction of relationship, destruction of personality, destruction of soul. Like you lose your soul trying to be something you're not. And it never ends well. And then we have a world of men who leave, right? Isn't that the whole men that walk away thing that was going around a few years ago, the hashtag? I was like, what is this hashtag I keep seeing? And then I looked it up and we're like, holy cow, it's a movement, men that walk away. And that's not right either. You know, that's not cool either. So stand up and be a freaking man.
Yeah.
You know, when somebody's like, oh, I think that language is harsh, or I think that's, you know, telling people that they don't need to rest is too hard. You know, that's not how things are done. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It absolutely is. You know, there's a story of a Russian miner who mined 100 tons of coal by himself. He was like the hero of the movement of the Russian Revolution and all these other things. You think anybody told that guy he needed a break?
Right.
You know, or was he striving for such a high ideal and goal to be a hero of his own story to his people that he just was like, fuck it, I'll sleep later, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with saying, for the next 3 days, I'm going to work insanely hard on this project because it's something I believe in, it's something I want to do, and something I want to bring to the world, and I'm going to do it. And ignoring people in your circle who are like, oh, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't push yourself so hard. That's feminine energy and that has a place with children, raising children. But you are a man and you need to ignore that advice. Don't be rude about it, but just say, I understand where you're coming from. And that's your feminine nature. That's the feminine energy of nurturing and caring and making sure everybody's good and taken care of and safe. But I don't need it right now. That's fair to say too. It's not disrespectful. It's actually respecting the feminine, but also acknowledging I'm a masculine energy force and I got work to do,
Yeah.
And so, that's the thing, we have, and Matt Thornton writes about it in the book, there's the thing where the baby bull elephants were destroying the properties and the sanctuary they're trying to create. And these baby bull elephants are just tearing everything up because they're only there with their mom. And how did they fix it? They brought in full grown male bull elephants. And guess what? Little dudes got their shit together. Because now you got this full size male bull elephant. It's like, that's not how we act, right?
Yeah.
Start acting right, or I will stomp you, And I'm not saying that that's always the answer to everything, but in a lot of places it is.
There needs to be a balance. One of the things that you noticed about me was that I have all of this feminine energy to offer, but I was operating on the masculine side.
Yeah.
I had,
Out of necessity.
out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a position where, I had to be, providing and making sure all the needs were met. And I was trying to be both the nurturer and the, provider and just all of these things. And so it forced my feminine energy way over to the masculine side.
Mm-hmm.
And it really clouded my judgment.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that you brought into my life was, this masculine energy, this ability to directly communicate,
right,
to really help me see things that I needed to see more clearly and bring me out and up. And it hasn't restricted my growth in any way. In fact, it is one of the things that was profoundly empowering.
Right.
And it really made me see how we've tried to, feminize men or emasculate men or try to make men more softer in order to make women more comfortable. It has really created an imbalance with women.
Mm-hmm.
And
for sure,
roles that and I'm speaking generally, but roles that we kind of naturally want to feel,
mm-hmm.
we naturally want to fill, we haven't been able to fill them really well.
Right.
I remember going through your journal, like one of the conversations that we've had is, what is a warrior? What does a warrior look like?
Mm-hmm.
And sort of that timeless tradition of warrior mentality. And I came across in one of your journals this list of things that you wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
And it was this really great list. And it included things like, becoming like an EMT,
mm-hmm.
uh, martial arts,
mm-hmm.
all of those things, but it also included things in the arts in general, like poetry,
right,
like doing a tea ceremony,
right,
things like that. And so I think that women really underestimate and they do not value
mm-hmm.
what a man is or what a man should be, because a man has the ability to become all of those things, to be a warrior and an artist.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look at the history, just the history of, let's say something simple as the Crusades. The history of that. So you have the knights on one side, and you have the Muslim equivalent on the other side, right? So knights, facing off on each other. These guys were all, driven by religious ideals, but they were also all known for their ability to not only fight either horseback or on foot. They were also known for their ability to prepare food, known for their ability to write poetry, create art, do all these different things. When did that become wrong? When did it become polarized? And, so the only way that I am a real man in this feminized culture is if I can cook food, I can cry on command, and also I'm a wimp. I can be pushed around and I can't defend you or myself. I see it when disgusts me to some degree when I see a man walking on the inside of the sidewalk. So he's allowing his kids and wife or girlfriend, whatever it is, significant other, to walk on the outside, close to traffic. That's wrong. Are you serving your family or not? Are you serving the person you say you love more than anything or not? If you were, you'd be on the outside. So that if, say, there's a puddle and a car hits the puddle and splashes the water up, it hits you first and maybe shields her and your children. Or if someone throws something out the window of the car as they're passing by, just mindlessly not paying attention, first off, being a litter bug, but second, I've had that before during runs. I've seen people like throw something out, like a milkshake or whatever, out the window, and it's like, shouldn't you be on the outside to protect your loved ones from that? It's not toxic. It's not misogynistic. It's protective. It's serving. It's simple things like that. Opening the door. Why shouldn't you open the door for the people you love?
Yeah, there's this saying among toxic feminism, I can open my own doors, thanks.
Sure.
I can open my own doors, thanks. Well, nobody ever said that you cannot.
Right. Nobody assumed you couldn't.
Yeah, I can definitely open my own doors. But when you open my door for me, that is uh, treating me like a queen for
Yeah.
lack of a better word.
If I'm on a protection detail, I'm opening doors for the people I'm protecting.
Yeah.
Right? I walk up, there's a way to open the door, there's a way to scan, to look, to make sure that the lane is protected, there's no cars, no traffic, no body approaching, and then you open the door and get them safely in and you shut the door. If I'm going to do that for somebody who's paying me, why wouldn't I do it for the people I love the most and care about the most?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense when people criticize that. And I've told you, I had that person in Chicago who's like, I can open my own doors, and then goes to pull the door and can't. And I laughed. It was hilarious because it was one of those super windy days, and down on like Lake Michigan, and the wind was just keeping the door sealed shut. I could open my own door. Like, would you like some help? Yeah. And of course, steps back and lets me open the door. I'm like, I'm a 250-pound man. You're a 120-pound person, female or male. You're probably going to struggle with a giant door on those big buildings downtown.
Yeah.
Let me help you. Maybe together it might take both of us.
Right.
But why do you got to be like that?
Well, that's the other thing, is it's so isolating too.
You can't take kindness?
Yeah, you can't take kindness. You can't take generosity. You can't just say thank you and maybe pay it forward later.
Yeah. And also, I know you can open a door. That's how every building works in the freaking world. There's a door. You open it. I'm quite sure you can open doors on your own.
Practice on that all day, every day.
I'm quite sure you can open your own doors, but that's not the point, right? It's the principle behind it. It's the thought behind it. Yeah. And different things like that,
I just think one of the thing that I have learned in all of this is that I described you as my son very, very early on, like the son that entered my life. And, if I am this world, you're providing the light that provides the growth.
And the warmth and the gravity and
all of those
the
things.
Order.
Yeah. And it's a symbiotic relationship. And so when we started talking about Jack Donovan, Order of Fire, Stay Solar, that sort of thing, I was just like, oh, wow, Paul brings the light to so many people, because then I was looking at your environment as well and all of the people in your life that rely on you.
Yeah.
And that you bring the light to so many people, and you are important to so many people. Right. So can you, and I've often said too, I want Paul to start a man's group because I want Paul to teach more men how to be men.
Yeah. And
bringing the light to your people is one of those things that you offer as just your natural love language and your purpose. So what has Stay Solar really meant for you, and how does that bring you to your people?
Yeah, so just like what you said, the sun comes in and provides warmth, light, energy, gravity, order. It orders the universe around it. All of these things without asking anything in return. It doesn't take anything. It actually doesn't it take waste product and fuel, so you're not even you're not demanding anything. The most non-solar thing a man can do is complain about his responsibilities. I hate when people use the burdens of family, the burden of whatever. Like, it's not a burden, it's a responsibility. You take it on. Don't be a bitch. Like, you take this on. So stop. Don't complain. Enjoy it. Actually ask for more. Find ways to take more. Because that's your role as the masculine. That's your role as the man, is to carry the weight, and to do what you're supposed to do for the people you're supposed to do it for. So for me, it's about being that. Like, the sun doesn't cry that it's got to provide heat and warmth and energy. The sun just does it, you know? And that's the thing. And also, back to what we were talking about before, if you're tired of hearing people complain or or want to take your role away from you as the man, want to diminish your role, then stop complaining about it when you have the role. Stop complaining about how burnt out you are, how tired you are, how whatever. Stop. First off, all you're doing is feeding their concern that you aren't up to the task. So then they start taking it away because you can't do it. So then now we're back into this self-feeding negative loop of men can't do this, men aren't good at this, men shouldn't do this is what a man should be, and this is what a man should do, because you're telling people you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop.
Right.
So that's what I have taken from it, and the actual it's kind of interesting because he kind of lays it out in here, like the pieces of what does solar mean, right? What does the sun provide? It provides gravity, which is purpose, grounding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, gravity keeps things in place,
Right.
keeps things ordered, right? It keeps that stasis between us and whatever's out there, and then the order again, right? Like, the everything moves around the sun.
Mm-hmm.
The sun becomes that center for order and direction, and it keeps things on course. It steadies things. The feminine energy is like a storm,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, it's chaotic, it's strong, it's wild, right? And it can go all kinds of places. And you can't control it any more than you can control a storm, right? But you just have to learn to ride it out. And the masculine, the man side of it, you shouldn't be trying to control the woman. You shouldn't be trying to tell her what she should think or what she should say or how she should be. You just have to be that steady source in there where she can come back, and it orders itself. Things order themselves when you don't give in to the energy.
Right.
And that's the man's role. Too many guys are quick to start screaming back when there's some sort of energy eruption, so to speak.
Yeah.
They're too quick to be like, match that vibe, that frequency, instead of just going, the sun doesn't all of a sudden go because things got weird. The sun just stays in place and does its job.
Yeah.
Keeps providing warmth, keep providing energy, keep providing gravity and order, and ride it out.
Yep.
And so that's the kind of stuff that I think about when I think about, like, how just stay solar, man. Be the sun. Just be the sun in every environment that I'm in. Be the sun. Bring the energy, bring the illumination, the light, help people to see through either actions or the right word at the right time. Being able to just observe and put it together and go, oh, this is what they need to hear, if they're open to hearing it.
Right.
But just being that source of illumination also on myself. Like, looking at myself and evaluating and shining the light on the parts I don't want light shown on, you
Right.
know, in order to be better and to do a better job. And then, you know, like Jack, one of the final ones is warmth. You know, it's just warmth is life giving. You know, at a certain point, right? Of course, it can kill you. Heat can kill you, right? But cold is a more present threat, I would think.
Yeah.
You know, and so be the warmth, be the thing that keeps the cold away. Whether it's relationships, whether it's the people around you, you know, you just bring that element to things where it's comforting. It shouldn't, you know, that's the other thing too when we talk about the masculinity and all the, you know, like one, if I'm not allowed to tell you what a woman is, don't try to tell me what a man is, right? So, and you also, if I can't define what's feminine, then don't define what's masculine for me. I'll figure it out. We have a history of men that I can look at and go, that was a good man. Those are ideals I should pursue, right? And so, same, like in those situations, though, where just bring warmth to the situation, bring calmness, bring steadiness to the situation. Don't bring extreme heat or extreme cold. Neither one of those are good.
Yeah.
Neither one of those are ideal, right? Extreme heat, just incredible conflict, right? Extreme cold is just resentment and low-key anger, covert hostility.
Yeah.
Don't bring any of those to the situation. Bring warmth and healing. You know, be the sun, be solar, man.
Yeah.